Have you ever wondered what life in a nursing home is really like? At 82, I've learned a lot about life, but there's one decision I deeply regret: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it seemed like the right choice. My family encouraged it, promising that I'd have all the care and comfort I needed. I believed them, but once I got there, I realized that the reality was nothing like what I had imagined. I know many of you might be thinking about this option, whether for yourself or a loved one. Maybe you feel like it's the safest decision, or maybe you've been told it will make life easier. But before you take that step, I want to share 6 things I wish someone had told me before I moved in. Because the truth is, life in a nursing home isn't just about convenience. It changes everything. And once you go in, getting out isn't as simple as you think. Stay with me until the end, because some of these lessons might surprise you. If you know someone considering a nursing home, this might be exactly what they need to hear before making a life-changing decision. Now, let's get started. Regret 1. Losing my independence. The biggest shock after moving into a nursing home wasn't the small room, the set meal times, or even the unfamiliar faces. It was the realization that I had lost control over my own life. Before I moved in, I had my routines. I decided when to wake up, when to eat, and how to spend my day. I could take a walk whenever I wanted, cook my own meals, or just sit quietly in my favorite chair with a book. But inside the nursing home, I quickly realized that my time was no longer my own. Everything ran on a schedule that wasn't mine. Breakfast was at a set time, even if I wasn't hungry. Lights out happened at a certain hour, whether I was ready or not. Want to take a walk outside? You might need permission, and you'll probably have to wait until someone is available to assist you. Simple decisions, like what to eat or even what to wear, started feeling like privileges instead of basic choices. I remember my first week there, waking up in a bed that didn't feel like mine. I sat up, stretched, and reached for the book I had been reading at home, but when I looked around the room, it hit me. This wasn't my home. My books, my favorite chair, the little comforts I had spent years collecting were gone. In their place were sterile walls, a bed I didn't choose, and a feeling I couldn't shake. I was no longer in charge of my own life. The hardest part? Realizing that once you give up your independence, getting it back is almost impossible. You adapt because you have to. You stop arguing when they tell you what's for dinner. You stop asking if you can go for a walk whenever you want. You learn to fit into their system, but in the process, you start losing yourself. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever thought possible. Regret 2. Feeling forgotten. One of the hardest truths about moving into a nursing home is realizing that the world outside keeps moving without you. When I first arrived, my family reassured me that they would visit often. I believed them, and in the beginning, they did. My daughter came by once a week, my grandchildren visited on weekends, and for a little while, it felt like I still had a connection to my old life. But as the months went by, the visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling instead of coming. My grandchildren got busy with school and work. Holidays were the hardest. Everyone promised they'd come, but somehow plans always changed at the last minute. Suddenly, I found myself sitting alone in a common room, watching other residents stare at the door, hoping today would be the day someone remembered them. It wasn't that my family stopped loving me, life just got in the way. When you're not around every day, it's easy for people to assume you're fine, that you're adjusting, that you don't need as much attention. But the truth is, the longer you're in a nursing home, the easier it is for people to forget just how much you still need them. I remember one evening sitting in my room, holding my phone, debating whether to call my son, that I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to remind him that I was here waiting for a visit that might never come. So I put the phone down, and that's when it hit me. This was my life now. Watching the days go by, hoping someone would remember to include me. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the loneliness? Because no matter how much your family loves you, once you're out of sight, it's easier than you think to become out of mind. If you're still with me and loving these nuggets of wisdom, drop a number 2 in the comments. I'd love to know. You're out there riding this journey with me. Haven't hit that subscribe button yet? Do it now and tap the bell so you never miss a single dose of inspiration. Your support fuels us, keeping the good vibes and life-changing tips coming your way. All right, let's keep the momentum going. Onward we roll. Regret. 3. Losing my sense of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just swapping one address for another, a practical shift, nothing more. But I didn't see the deeper trade I was making. I wasn't just changing where I lived, I was rewriting why I lived. At home, life hummed with small, sacred routines. I'd water my plants, their green leaves nodding back at me like old friends. I'd brew my coffee, the aroma filling the kitchen with a promise of a good day. Tidying up wasn't a chore, it was a quiet act of care for the space I'd built over decades. Those moments weren't just tasks, they were my purpose, little anchors that tethered me to the world. In the nursing home, those anchors vanished. Meals arrived on a tray, prepared by hands that weren't mine. Someone else swept the floors, tended the gardens, plants I had no claim to. At first I leaned into it, thinking, finally, a break. No more to-do lists, just rest. But rest without meaning isn't peace, it's a void. A few weeks in, the days stretched into endless, shapeless hours. Each one a blank page I couldn't fill. I saw it mirrored in the people around me, souls who'd once buzzed with life, now dimmed by idleness. There was George, 84, a carpenter whose hands had shaped wood into beauty for a lifetime. At home, his garage was his kingdom, alive with the clatter of tools and the scent of sawdust. He'd craft birdhouses or mend a wobbly table, each project a testament to a life well lived. But here, his tools were gone, his hands empty, resting in his lap like relics of a past he couldn't reclaim. "I feel useless," he confessed one afternoon, his voice a whisper of defeat, and it cut me deep because I felt it too. We're built to create, to tend, to matter, even in the smallest ways. When that's stripped away, life loses its pulse. The mind wanders, the body slumps, and soon you're just a shadow in a chair, watching time drift by while the world spins on without you. It's a quiet tragedy of being human. Purpose isn't handed to us, we forge it, and without that fire, we fade. If you're considering a nursing home, pause and ask, what sparks your days right now? Because once you're in, holding on to that flame isn't just about filling time. It's about fighting to stay alive in the truest sense. Life teaches us that meaning isn't loud or grand, it's in the ordinary, the things we do because they're ours to do. Lose that, and you lose a piece of your soul. I wish I'd known how fast that emptiness creeps in, how it turns rest into a cage. If I could go back, I'd have clung to those rituals like lifelines, knowing they weren't just habits, they were me. Regret 4. Declining health faster than expected. Before the nursing home, I was holding my own, and at my age, that felt like a victory. I wasn't out jogging trails or lifting weights, but I could manage, shuffling to the store with my reusable bags, stretching in the morning sun, cooking a pot of soup that warmed the house and my bones. Those routines weren't just about getting by, they were my quiet rebellion against time. Proof I still had some fight left. I'd walk the house, keeping my legs steady, feeling the creak of the floorboards under my feet like a heartbeat. But once I moved in, that heartbeat faded. At first, it seemed like a gift. Meals delivered to my table, no need to stand over a stove. If I needed something, a button brought help right to me. I thought I was easing into a softer life, but I didn't see the cost. The less I did, the less I could do. It snuck up fast. My legs stiffened from too much sitting, my steps grew shaky. Getting up from a chair turned into a slow, grunting wrestle with gravity. Muscles I'd nurtured for years withered, slipping away quicker than I'd ever imagined possible. It wasn't just me. I watched it spread like a silent plague. Folks who'd strode in on their own 2 feet were soon leaning on canes, then rolling in wheelchairs. Independence dissolved into dependence, and the more help we got, the more we needed. Take Alice, my neighbor, 81 and full of fire when she arrived. She'd march the halls daily, chin up, declaring, "Age is just a number. I'm not stopping." But a few months later, her walk slowed. A walker crept into her hands, then a wheelchair took over. "I don't know when it happened," she said one day, eyes cloudy, "but I feel like I aged 10 years in a blink." I knew that feeling. Time didn't just march, it sprinted, fueled by stillness. Life's a paradox. We think ease is a reward, but it's motion that keeps us whole. In a nursing home, everything's designed for comfort, and that's the trap. Comfort can steal your strength. Movement isn't about convenience, it's survival, a dance with existence that says, "I'm still here." If I'd seen it coming, I'd have pushed harder, walked when I didn't want to, stood when I could have sat, because letting go of that fight ages you faster than any calendar. If you're thinking about this move, ask yourself, will you keep dancing when the music's turned down low? Because once you stop, starting again is a hill steeper than you'd guess. Comment number 4 below if this resonates. I'd love to know you're out there. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that button in the bell. Your support keeps these stories coming. If you're still with me and loving these nuggets of wisdom, drop a number 4 in the comments. I'd love to know you're out there riding this journey with me. Haven't hit that subscribe button yet? Do it now and tap the bell so you never miss a single dose of inspiration. Your support fuels us, keeping the good vibes and life-changing tips coming your way. All right, let's keep the momentum going. Onward we roll. Regret 5. The loss of privacy and dignity. I never thought privacy was a treasure until it was pried from my hands. At home, I had my sanctuary, my bedroom door shut when I craved silence, my little routines unfolding on my terms. I could sit with my thoughts, undisturbed, or linger in the bathroom without a clock ticking over me. That space was my castle, a corner of the world where I was king. But in the nursing home, those walls crumbled. From day one, I felt eyes everywhere, staff bustling in and out, room checks snapping me out of my quiet. Shared spaces meant solitude was a memory, not a right. Even the basics, getting dressed, bathing, turned into public acts. I'd done those things alone my whole life, a quiet pride in my independence. Now, I had to lean on someone else, their hands guiding me where mine once ruled. They were just doing their jobs, but that didn't soften the blow. The first week broke me open. I'd think, I'll shower now, only to wait for an aide schedule. Need the restroom? Press the button and hope they're quick. Sometimes they weren't. Meals came with no say. If I didn't like the day's offering, I'd eat anyway, or go hungry. Then there were the roommates. I got lucky with a gentle soul, but others weren't. Tales of snorers, messmakers, or folks lost in their own fog kept me up at night. You try carving out a home when half the room belongs to a stranger. No matter how I arranged my things, it wasn't mine. It was ours, or worse, theirs. Dignity slipped through the cracks. Doors opened before I could answer knocks. Voices spoke to me like I was a case, not a person. My days bent to a rhythm I didn't set, and that shift ate at me. We're wired for dignity. It's the thread that holds us upright. The belief we're more than our frailties. Lose it, and you shrink, feeling less human, more like a task on someone's list. Life teaches us control is an illusion, sure, but surrendering it entirely? That's a wound that doesn't heal. If you're facing this choice, ask, are you ready to trade your castle for a shared stage? Because once that curtain falls, lifting it again is a fight you might not win. I wish I'd known how much of myself lived in those private corners. Losing them taught me they were sacred. Regret 6. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself it was temporary. I thought I'd give it a try, see how things went, and if I didn't like it, I could always leave. But what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to get out once I was in. At first, it seemed simple. If I didn't like it, I'd just go back home. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house sat empty, and maintaining it from a distance became difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting out the place. When I brought up the idea of returning, they hesitated. "Are you sure you can manage on your own? Wouldn't it be safer to stay? We just want what's best for you." And then there was the issue of physical decline. After months of living in a place where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk very far, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. The independence I once had started slipping away, making the idea of moving back home more difficult than I ever imagined. I wasn't as confident in my ability to live alone, and that fear kept me stuck. I met others who had the same experience. They thought they'd try the nursing home for a little while, only to realize that leaving wasn't as easy as they thought. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to adjust to life outside. Some people even lost the option entirely. Once their home was sold or their savings were drained by the cost of care, there was no going back. That's the part nobody tells you. Moving in feels like a decision you can reverse, but for most people, it isn't. The nursing home slowly becomes your whole world, and before you know it, the outside life you once knew starts feeling like a distant memory. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the possibility that once you go in, leaving might not be as simple as you think? Because once you settle in, the barriers to leaving, whether financial, physical, or emotional, can be harder to overcome than you expect. If you're still with me and loving these nuggets of wisdom, drop a number 6 in the comments. I'd love to know you're out there riding this journey with me. Haven't hit that subscribe button yet? Do it now and tap the bell so you never miss a single dose of inspiration. Your support fuels us, keeping the good vibes and life-changing tips coming your way. All right, let's keep the momentum going. Onward we roll. Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret growing older, but I do regret believing that a nursing home was my only option. I walked in expecting comfort, safety, and a better quality of life. What I found instead was a world that slowly took away my independence, my privacy, my purpose, and even my sense of self. Does that mean nursing homes are all bad? Not necessarily. Some people genuinely need the level of care they provide, but before you make that decision, think carefully about what you're giving up. Because once you move in, life will never be the same. If I could do it over, I would have fought harder to stay in my own home, explored more ways to get help without giving up my freedom, and made sure I truly needed to be there before making such a permanent move. And if you're facing this decision, I hope you take the time to ask yourself, is this truly what's best for me, or is it just what seems easiest right now? Because the life you have today, your routines, your independence, your choices, is worth holding on to for as long as you can. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.